Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Katie Fehlinger, the host and executive producer of NAILBA's ID Network. And with today's programming emphasis on innovation, we are shining the spotlight on LexisNexis Risk Solutions. And here to tell us more about the company's innovative efforts is Deborah Gingelhof. She is the vice president and general manager for Life Vertical with LexisNexis Risk Solutions. Deborah, it's such a pleasure to chat with you today.
Well, me as well. So thank you, Katie, for having me here today and for giving LexisNexis some time on the Engage agenda. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Oh, it's our pleasure. But I'd like to start, if we could, just with some introductions. So, Deborah, if you don't mind, if you would introduce yourself, and for anyone who might not be familiar, can you also tell us about LexisNexis Risk Solutions, more about the company?
Sure. So as you mentioned, my name is Deborah Gingelhof. I joined LexisNexis a little bit more than a year ago to lead our life business strategy. And the primary responsibilities of my team are to build new solutions and to really be listening to the market and help our customers innovate. And prior to coming to LexisNexis, my background is 25 plus years in financial services. And specifically, I came from GE Capital. I was there about the last 15 years of my career. And there I've led innovation across products, platforms, and portfolios. And I'm really excited to be part of the life industry family, I'll call it. It very much feels that way. And this is a product that I'm just very personally passionate about. So I'm really glad to join LexisNexis in this community. And then back to your other question. For those who are not as familiar with LexisNexis, we are a leading provider of data and analytics across a broad range of markets. And specifically in the area of insurance, we are a market leader and we serve auto, home, commercial, and of course, life insurance carriers.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that. And let's dive into this. You know, the life industry is very much in the process of transformation, as you know. We've seen so much change just in this last year, all very much accelerated by the pandemic. And some of that change was technical in nature. Where do you see this industry going? How is LexisNexis helping the life industry cope with these changes?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, our role here is to be listening to the market and understand, kind of what's happening. And certainly as there's been the progression over the last, say, decade to transform this industry, the pandemic certainly has accelerated the need to move faster and to actually, realize those changes. And we're certainly hearing across the full, ecosystem that there's a huge focus on digitization and improving the customer experience. And certainly over the last, say, 5-6 years, there's been huge improvements in the underwriting process. Being able to implement accelerated underwriting programs, leverage third-party data in the process, make a less invasive experience for the customer and really streamline. So, we're really proud that we've been part of that disruption, if you will, with the introduction of our predictive model about 5-6 years ago, as I mentioned. So where I see the need really going next is to pull the data more forward at the point of sale. So this is something that we anticipated would happen in the life industry. It's something that happened in our auto and home business, some time ago. And this is really the idea of being able to leverage data and analytics at the point where you're making contact with the customer and getting the application data. So again, we're seeing this take off in the life industry at a much higher rate than before. And if you think about it, there's tools that can really help this process, from verifying the consumer's identity, making sure that the consumer is who they say they are and that they indeed, that an identity is real. And then pre-filling the consumer's information into the application by taking just a few data points from them. And if you think about a life insurance application, it can be quite lengthy. So any way that you can take friction out of the process for your customer is an advantage. And then once you get that information, you want to be able to validate it, especially key pieces of information against, third-party databases. The kind of end result of all of this is if the upfront sales experience is enhanced and the downstream underwriting process is better because you have better data, then it's a better experience overall. So what we see with the customers that we have today utilizing these tools is that they're very quickly able to identify potential problems at the point of application and resolve them right then and there with the consumer. So that is a huge improvement in their business workflow. And then this year, we're really excited that we're going to be rolling out some more new capabilities to further enable consumer verification, as well as application placement for distributors, and then also offer some insights at that point of sale about what's the likelihood of that consumer to persist. And again, the more you can add to the upfront part of the process to take away friction downstream, these are ways that you can really enhance your customer experience. And these tools are available today, and they're easy to integrate as well. Which brings me to another point I'd like to make, which is that we really value our integration with third-party processors. We know that it's important that we're integrated with the technology platforms that our customers are using. And today we have about 30 or more alliances that we call them, and we're committed to partnering with any supplier that our customers need us to be integrated with, because we really want to make it happen for them.
Fantastic. Yeah, so much talking about the consumer side of this. We all live such busy lives, especially now. People have a lot of competing priorities, and there's a lot of different levels too of understanding just on the need for life insurance. So how can distributors and carriers create a meaningful path to help their consumer audience and at the same time create a competitive advantage for themselves?
Yeah, so good questions. I think historically we can all acknowledge that life insurance hasn't been a high engagement product, especially when you think about just the frequency of touch points. But I do think that there's an incredible opportunity to make it a more personalized and relevant experience for the consumer. And again, I think if you look to other industries, you'll see this happening quite often. And to make this happen, you really need to know a lot more about your customer. And keep in mind that your customer is very willing to share data with you, provided that they're getting value in return. And you just need to be mindful that they have a need for transparency and to make sure that their data is treated with the utmost care. And at LexisNexis, we take data privacy and security very seriously. It is the cornerstone of our business. And we help our customers really navigate through the process of utilizing big data in their process. Another area that I'd like to highlight is that so there's been a lot of talk about moving from paper processes to digital processes. But if you think about that, the next generation of that is to make sure that you have a complete end-to-end digital experience for customers who want that. Certainly, we all hear that younger consumers would expect that. And I would just offer the question, what is the last best experience that your customer has had? Because that is what you're competing with. And it may or may not be in life insurance. It could be in another industry. And to do this, you really need to have a strong data strategy. So that means, how are you going to leverage data today in your process? And then for the long term, what do you need to move towards? And always be asking, where can you take out friction and potentially use an alternative way to collect information?
All really great points. And you did mention earlier that you actually come from the payments industry. Do you see any parallels or learnings for the life industry from that experience?
Well, certainly the topics of digitization, engagement, customer experience are all very common across all of financial services. So that part really is not unique. I think in payments, they just had a head start in making some of these transitions because, obviously some more transactional product, it's more closely tied to commerce. So I think some of the next innovations in life really are building on some of the ideas around converging of channels. So many in the audience have probably heard the term omnichannel. So that's the idea of making an experience common and consistent across all channels. The next generation of this strategy really is about seamless movement between channels. So it's more that interconnectivity of the customer across channels, not as silos. So if you look at the retail industry, I think that you'll see some really good examples of how this is being done well. And then another area that I think has some potential for innovation in life is to have simpler products and more simple experiences. And we have a real tangible example of that in the payment space, where you'll see now on many retail sites the offer for a short-term, very simple installment loan. And this takes the place of opening up a complicated long-term commitment credit card. We knew in my former role that many millennials, especially preferred that type of an account. And then recently, I took out a mortgage to refinance my mortgage, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see how online mortgage lenders have simplified their application user interface. And it actually felt kind of fun and more like a game filling out a mortgage application. It was very different from the first one I got about 30 plus years ago. So again, those are just some examples of where within life we can continue to build on experiences of other financial service sectors. And while some of these capabilities exist today, some will come as the whole industry advances through the next disruption.
These are all really great points. And I have to agree with you that, maybe not so much like it felt like a game, but I do much more enjoy purchasing products like that when it's a lot simpler to do it. So totally with you on that. For such a complex thing too, it can be very daunting on the consumer. So Deborah, is there anything else that you would want to add?
Well, I would just really like to encourage the audience to reach out to LexisNexis if you're interested to hear more about how we can help you innovate, improve your customer experience, and partner with you in being part of your data strategy. And just like many of you, we share in the common purpose of helping more families, acquire life insurance and protect their families. So again, thank you so much, Katie.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, that is, of course, what this is all about. Deborah Gingelhof, Vice President and General Manager for Life Vertical with LexisNexis Risk Solutions. Thank you so much for taking the time to offer up such valuable insight. It's been really great talking with you.
Thank you.